Good evening from sunny, not soggy South Florida. You put on my hallelujah light. Hi. Good evening. I've been mulling around in my head since yesterday how to kind of describe this book. And I held their hands with a hospice heart. I told you it was a companion book to my book, Committed to Love. It's going to read differently. And I've also never read this one in many, many, many years. With my story, Committed to Love, the chapters were about Jeffrey and myself. And then hospice came in at the end. So it was all about us, and then hospice came in. We got that part right. This book is going to be flipped. The majority of the stories are going to be from when I was at the care center or somehow involved with hospice, and it's their story that is going to come first. And then I'm going to intertwine, interject, intercede, intervene, or go in depth as to how my life was affected or pertained to what I saw or somehow related. Yet so you might see in some chapters, like this chapter 1, it had part 1. That was this man singing to his mom. And that was specific because I was only there in that room for a couple hours. She had passed while I was, gone during the week. So I was able to say, well, why did that hit me so much with the candlelight and the music and everything? So I took you back in time to the last few days of Jeff's life and what I was able to do. And that's why I said chapter 1, part 2. So some chapters will have perhaps a part 1 and a part 2. The issue will be read the description. The descriptions of each chapter will be exactly what the book would be. If you had the book, you would see the exact same description on the chapters. So I just want you to know this book may flow very differently. I feel that chapter 2 is going to be all one chapter with maybe a continuation, but I was with this man for a while, and if you're with somebody for a few weeks, you relate to them, you communicate with them, you talk to them, and that's what will happen. So read the description, and sometimes you may have a part 1 or a part 2, but you will have more information about Jeff and myself, as well as 24 amazing stories. And hi, David, welcome back. Oh, I couldn't, let's see, I don't want to touch anything. God, I don't want to touch anything. I'm doing so good. So, chapter 2 is what I'm going to start on. And I want to say thank you all. Good Shabbos coming this Friday night to my Jewish sisters and brothers. I even dressed up a little more because it's so nasty out. I just wanted to look a little bit better. And chapter 2. So you understand that my book is going to be different, read differently. This book is going to have a different flow. And I won't know how it flows until I read it. But read the description. So, here's chapter 2. But these are all true stories. And these are all stories. I can promise you, you are going to go through this one. Listen to the title. And you tell me that you haven't had some experience with this, whether it was a lab or mix-up, a doctor's appointment, getting a second opinion, getting an x-ray messed up, something. Wait till you rehear this and you'll know what I'm saying. Tell me this hasn't happened either to you or someone you know. Chapter 2. He finally had the truth about his illness, and now he could deal with the facts because he knew them. Do you mean to tell me that you don't know anybody has said, I don't know what to do. They can't find out what's wrong. I can relate to this one at a lot of levels, my own and Jeffrey's. He finally had the truth about his illness, and now he could deal with the facts because he knew them. This is an important chapter. Quote, you can take control of your life, but you can't control it. Remember, I've said that all along. You can take control of your life. I can choose what I want to eat. I can't control if I'm going to choke on it. Excellent analogy. July 1998. Remember, Jeffrey's been gone 4 years, and I'm at the care center. Usually, some of these stories will take place in different places. Read the description, and you'll understand it. July 1998. Dear Jeff, why do I sometimes forget the things I want to remember and remember the things I wish to forget? It's very difficult for me to describe the deeply powerful and emotional flashbacks that I've been having since your death. They happen often and without warning. In an instant, something someone says or does will shift my attention from the present and take me back to the past. I know that's happened to a lot of you because I know you. Eventually I see now is totally different. Oh, everything. Everything I see now is including the glasses. They happen often without warning. In an instant, something someone says or does will shift my attention from the present and take me back to the past. Everything I see now is totally different, yet the things I remember feel frighteningly similar. It is impossible for me to control these vivid images that come to mind. It is impossible for me to control these vivid images that come to my mind. Jeff, when my memories are beautiful, I am thankful for the wondrous feelings they bring to me. I cherish the incredible adventure we shared. Unfortunately, there are other times when I am reminded of the terribly frustrating and challenging things we also faced. These memories are painful ones to remember and relive, but they are a part of our life, just like they were going to be a part of yours. These memories are painful ones to relive, but they are a part of our life. The learning how to acknowledge and accept both the good and the bad memories was a difficult thing for me to do. Last night at the care center, I experienced something that brought back the feelings and images that were both bitter and sweet. When I started my shift, it was unusually quiet. This is the care center. I said Hospice by the Sea in Boca. I was there for 6 years, and it was an incredible experience, and a wonderful book came out of it. When I started my shift, it was unusually quiet. The rooms were only half occupied, and there were very few visitors around. I loaded my cart up with ice, cups, straws, and napkins, and proceeded to deliver fresh water to the patients' rooms. I told you that was a very non-intrusive way to go into a room, just quickly survey it, see if anybody needed anything, or if nobody wanted to be talked to, or I didn't understand what was happening, like with the gentleman singing the Spanish songs to his mom. I loaded my cart up with the napkins and proceeded to deliver the fresh water to the patient's room. As I turned the corner, I noticed a large, powerfully built man leaning against the wall. He was staring into the empty hallway and continued to watch me walk towards him. His presence and stature caught me off guard, and I thought that he was visiting someone else. He looked like a sentry posted outside the room. As I got closer, I saw the oxygen line hooked up to a portable tank near his side. But there was something different about him that captured my attention. He looked exactly like the man in a painting that we almost bought at the Norman Rockwell Museum almost 10 years ago. I stopped the cart in front of him and said, quote, "Wow, what a treat. Someone up and walking. I don't see that very much around here," end quote. And of course, to know me would to be to know the way they would come out. But anyway, it's this large, hulking man leaning against the wall, and I'm approaching him. And then I finally see the oxygen tube coming out of his nose and the tank. And as I said, he looked exactly like the man in a painting we almost bought at the Norman Rockwell Museum almost 10 years ago. I stopped the cart in front of him and said, "Wow, what a treat. Someone up and walking. I don't see that very much around here," end quote. Jeff, he laughed so hard that the oxygen tube went flying. I remember it. He laughed so hard that the oxygen tube went flying out of his nose. He adjusted his nose piece and slapped me on the back. Quote, "Well done," end quote, he said. I responded, quote, "Would you like some company? It's quiet around here tonight, and I've got a lot of time," end quote. He answered, "Yes, and if you bring me a couple of cups of strong black high-octane coffee, I'll really talk your head off." I said, quote, "Don't go away, and I'll bring you the whole pot." Here, I mean, these are the relationships you have with people. As an author, oops, chilling. As an author, I don't even call myself a writer anymore. As an author, I see people. I see their issues. I see their stuff. I see their everything. And I want to write stories about everybody. I want to just write stories about people. I don't have it in me yet. I know there is a book in me, but I don't have it in me yet, know what to do. But these are stories. This is what I'm good at. Telling stories and writing stories. So anyway, he laughed so hard the oxygen tube went flying out of his nose. He adjusted his nose piece and he slapped me on the back. Quote, "Well done," end quote, he said. I responded, quote, "Would you like some company? It's quiet around here tonight, and I've got a lot of time," end quote. He answered, quote, "Yes, and if you bring me a couple of cups of that strong, black high-octane coffee, I'll really talk your head off," end quote. I said, quote, "Don't go away, and I'll bring you the whole pot." He was sitting up in bed when I got back to the room. A pink sign had been neatly scotch taped on the door. It read, "Do not close the doors or draw the curtains," and this was in big caps. A pink sign had been neatly scotch taped on the door. It read, caps, "Do not close the doors or draw the curtains." I proceeded to put the coffee on the night table and pulled a white wicker chair up alongside the bed. Quote, "Hi again," I said. "My name is Susan, and I'm your lucky volunteer tonight," end quote. I asked him if he really wanted some company, or did he prefer to be alone. He said, quote, "Susan, I like the purple turban you are wearing. You look very exotic," end quote. And to stop here, I used to wear a lot of turbans because many of the people that I was so fortunate enough to spend time with, I mean, these are only 24 stories. I was in hospice for over 6 years. Monday nights, Thursdays, Saturdays, Sundays. I mean, I was 500 hours in a click. So I wore turbans a lot because the first time I saw a woman who, and I'll go into that story at some, but she was wearing her turban, and I know because she had advanced metastatic cancer, she'd lost all her hair. And in order to make people feel comfortable, that's what I also wore. I wore a lot of turbans then, and it was very, I didn't know who I was going to see, so for me, I put all my hair back under a turban. I put a flower on it or some ornament. That was it. So I pulled the white wicker chair up. I said, "Hi, my name is Susan." I didn't know if he really wanted company or not, but I said, "My name is Susan. I'm your lucky volunteer tonight." End quote. I asked him if he really wanted some company or did he prefer to be alone. He said, quote, "Susan, I like the purple turban you are wearing. You look very exotic." End quote. I said, comma, "You, my friend, have great taste in women." End quote. He laughed, nodding his head in approval. I noticed his dinner tray hadn't been touched and said, quote, "How's the food in this hotel?" End quote. He said, quote, "Well, if I could breathe long enough to chew the mashed potatoes, I could tell you." End quote. I mean, this is so funny. I mean, think about this. He's sitting there in bed. There's a "No, do not close the doors or draw the curtains" sign. I pull my chair up. "I'm your lucky volunteer. Do you really want some company?" He likes my purple turban. He says I look exotic. And I said, "You, my friend, have great taste in women." End quote. He laughed his head in approval. I noticed his dinner tray hadn't been touched and said, quote, "How's the food in this hotel?" End quote. He said, quote, "Well, if I could breathe long enough to chew the mashed potatoes, I could tell you." End quote. We both giggled long like little kids. We both giggled like small children who were keeping a secret from their parents. There was something about his honesty and sense of humor that made me feel at ease. I pulled the chair closer to the bed and asked him about the sign on the door. Quote, "Are you claustrophobic?" End quote, I said. He never answered my question. I am going to say one time probably throughout every chapter, if you don't relate to these stories, or you don't commit to these stories, or you don't tell your friends on Facebook, Twitter, Ziploc, Gallon Locks, I don't care what the name, TikTok, if you don't tell your friends about this, you are denying them the opportunity to understand that they might go through this. They might need to know this. This is information. I may not be on every social media platform. I don't think I need it. I'm doing quite well enough talking right here in my my dining room, to my phone, to you. I'm okay. But for all of you who might need to know some of this, please share it on your social media platforms, because these stories are real. I'm real. And I have so much in here to talk about and to tell you about. And think about all those people in your life who just might want to hear it. End of that. He took a few sips of coffee and adjusted his oxygen line. Then he said, quote, "Susan, you can only deal with the facts that you know." End quote. An unsettling, uneasy feeling came over me. Where had I heard those words before? He said, "Susan, you can only deal with the facts that you know." An unsettling, uneasy feeling came over me. Where had I heard those words before? My heart raced, and then my mind went blank. A moment later, all I could think about was you, Jeff. Those were the same words you said to me after your third bout with pneumonia. I didn't know how to respond. Finally, I said, "That quote, that was a powerful statement you just made. Honesty and being told the truth are the most important things in life. Everything we are told to believing is a lie without them." Boy, I get so chilled when I read these things and talk about writing. As I know it's God's telling me, you keep going, Susan. If there's one person out there, you talk to him. Listen to this. I'm going to reread this because it's so important. He said, "Susan, you can only deal with the facts that you know." An unsettling, uneasy feeling came over me. Where had I heard those words before? My heart raced, then my mind went blank. A moment later, all I could think about was you, Jeff. Those were the same words you said to me after your third bout with pneumonia. I didn't know how to respond. Then finally I said, quote, that was a powerful statement you just made. Honesty and being told the truth are the most important things in life. Everything we are told to believe in is a lie without them, end quote. He took his coffee and got into the recliner. He said, I told everyone that my coping mechanism finally shorted out. Quote, I told everyone that my coping mechanism finally shorted out. I think that was when I was given too much information too quickly. I was overloaded with test results and opinions. I was frustrated because I got a lot of the information I received about my condition wasn't correct. Maybe I didn't ask the right questions of the right people. It wasn't anyone's fault. But how could I make the right decisions when I didn't know all the facts? I was tired of the half-truths, the guesswork, and the speculation. That's what frustrated me the most. I wasn't given the correct information until it was too late. Now that I know the truth about my illness and the prognosis, I can finally take charge of my life again. Yes, you can only deal with what you know. I've made peace with myself and everyone else. Oh, I want to just give you a little bit more. But this chapter will continue because you can feel that I'm interacting with him. So there won't be a part 1 or a part 2. It'll just be chapter 2 continues. I'll repeat some of this tomorrow. If you're not feeling this, you have no feeling. If you're not understanding that this has happened to you or will, listen to this. I'm saying, but how to make the right decisions when you don't know all the facts, or the facts aren't right, or you're getting half-truths, or you're being bombarded with so much information. You can't even process it. We are not computers. He wanted to get back into bed. I asked him if he was tired and if I should leave. Quote, no, he said. You're a good listener, end quote. Now I was the one who laughed out loud and said, quote, that's the most wonderful compliment you could ever have given me. People are always telling me that I talk too much and I don't listen, end quote. And it's true, I do. I'm getting better at listening, but I'm a good talker. I'd be great on talk shows. Get me on some. He continued, quote, I'm 65 years old and my wife and I still work. I wanted to come to the center because my wife is not handling my illness well. I love her very much and would like to be at home, but I can't right now. I need some peace and quiet, and she won't give me that. She is angry at everyone, including myself, and blames the doctors for my illness, end quote. Did I not go into the anger with myself? Did I not go into this? You see why I can interact with anybody almost now? You see, he could not stay at home with his illness because his wife was so angry at him, at everybody. This is how you relate. I related because I felt in one of my chapters in my book, I was angry and frustrated. You will. Again, that strange and easy feeling came over me. My mind went blank. Then my thoughts were back with you. I remembered the times when I wasn't able to cope with your illness either, and took my anger and frustrations out on you and everyone else who cared about us. I know that there were times when my horrible attitude made your life more unbearable than it already was. I am sorry for not having been as understanding and tolerant as I should have been. His voice interrupted my thoughts, startling me back to our conversation. He said, quote, "You understand what I am talking about, don't you?" End quote. Quote, "All too well," I said. I did forget the tissue. God, I am wasting all these wonderful blue masks. All right, let's get a grip here. It's time. All right. This man that I did not know, standing outside his room with an oxygen cord in the tank. We talk over our coffee. He goes into his room, and he tells me that he didn't have all the facts and all the mistruths and all the everything until it was too late. And I haven't even gotten into his illness. I haven't even gotten into the illness. We've just begun. And he wanted to be at home, but he couldn't because his wife was angry all the time at everybody. My thoughts went back to him, to Jeffrey, you. And he looked at me and he said, "Susan, you know what I'm talking about, don't you?" And I said, "All too well." I'll end here. A little bit of a sad note, a little bit of a cliffhanger. Tomorrow night, 5:30, you will know about his illness and what happened and why this man ended up where he did. But again, he made the choice, the hospice choice. Quality of life to the end of life. I shall bid you all. Thank you. Please do yourself and everyone else a favor. I'm not telling you to buy my books because I need the money. I'm telling you to buy these books. Go to my website. Go to a bookstore. Order the books. Get both of them. You will share them at some point. These issues, these feelings. I am an issue writer. I write from my heart. I give you my heart. I give you my words. I know my words. These would have been my words today. What, 94? I put the 98 to away to it 25 years later. I would know my words. God bless you all. I'll say shalom, and I'm not crying because I'm sad. I'm crying because I'm not even crying. I just related so to some of these people. They were so amazingly strong. They were so amazingly different. The peace I found at the care center, people outside in the outside world would say to me, "How can you be there? How can you be there all the time?" And I'd say, "I found more peace." So that's the lights dimming, saying it's time to go. I found more peace in that hospice care center than I did in the outside world. I found more peace there. It was simple. It was dignified. It was controlled. It was good. I was okay there. But in the outside world, I didn't function well. Maybe to this day I still don't, which is why I write, and now I read. And when I'm finished with this book, I will go back to mine for those people who haven't or want to hear me read again in a different way. I don't know what God will want me to do, but I shall say shalom, hello, shalom, goodbye, shalom, peace. Be kind. Be patient. Call someone. Tell them you care. I'll see y'all tomorrow night, about 5:29. I can't make it to 5:30. Somehow I get too fidgety. Shalom all. God bless you. And please remember to read the descriptions of each chapter. There might be a part 1. There might be a part 2. I don't know. This book will be different. God bless you all. I'm going to hit finish.